So this is Baruch here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and actually this is a continuation. We're going on today. We're very close to Yom Kippur, and there's not going to be a whole lot of time. This is a book that has quite a bit of coverage in it, and we'd like to be able to see it. Let me just see something on the front. Okay, I saw it. I wanted to see if there's in the back because I haven't really looked through this book in great detail. And there is a Rashash in the back, and someday, when we go through this enough, and I understand it well enough, we'll start working on the Rashash. Here we are right here. So he says, V'luchein, nitztavina b'hei mini inuyim ele b'yom kippurim. Now, that's what we've explained, that this is a day in which the Nukva looks up and moves up to the position in which she receives the same Shafa that Imei Law received, because now she's that much closer to the Or of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. So he says, of course, Imei Law is up in the position of Eric Anpin, and where is Eric Anpin? Eric Anpin is way, way up there, past Atik Yamim. If he's been passing Atik Yamim, it's gone really way, way up. Everything has moved up. That's what happens here. So he said, so therefore we're commanded here about these Inuyim, these 5 Inuyim on Yom Kippur. And we've mentioned that before, because all of those physical eatings are no longer in effect. They've been nullified on Yom Kippur. He said, now, this is a phrase that has to be discussed. I'm not sure if we do. I'm learning it along with you. He says, but it is the breath that comes from the upper mouth. So so therefore, corresponding to the fact that you're no longer in physicality, you're really talking about something which is not visible and something that has no real substance to it, but it is the breath that comes from the mouth of Eric Anpin. He said, so corresponding to each one of these inuyim, which is, I'm not exactly 100% sure how it works, so we'll try to get into it. So you have 5 different tefillos, and each one of the tefillos corresponds to one of the different 5 inuyim, which is achila, shti, etc. The tefillos heim besod havola meyotzim in the past, so the tefillos themselves are the secret of the breath that comes from the mouth. Now, whose mouth he hasn't said? I said that it's the mouth of Eric Anpin, and let's see what we have here down on this number Yodal. So it's the Vina b'Yom Kippur b'Chamesh Inuyim. So therefore, we're commanded for 3 different afflictions. We afflict ourselves 5 different ways. Shem b'chida b'shtir b'chitza b'sicha ne'ilas asanda b'tashet amita. Those are the 5. So he said the remez. Ki b'Yom Kippurim, that on the 5th day of Yom Kippurim nisbata ha'chamesh b'chinas hashafa. That's to tell us that the way that the Nukva Zer Anpin, who actually distributes all the shefa in the world to us, whether it's going to be shefa of din, or whether it's going to be shefa of rachamim, it's going to be shefa of chesed, whatever it's going to be, whatever parnasa that you need, whatever health you need, all of that comes from Ima. From Ima into Malchus. So Malchus, which is the Nukva, the Zer Anpin, is the distributor. So in this Batachamesh Bechinas the Shefa Nikras Achida Bishtia Gufnius, and they're all always called eating and drinking, physical eating, physical, because they are at a level which we call physicality, that is a direct penetration of Ima into the Nukva Zer Anpin, or Shefa into the Nukva Zer Anpin, and that's how it goes into her body. The Mechitzoni is the Ima, and it comes from the outside of Ima. Now, just parenthetically, if you haven't heard this before, I'll say it. The concept here is that the outside of the upper parts of, in this case is Ima, entering into Zer Anpin, is going to be the penimius of the parts of on the inside. So in other words, it's a much higher level, so therefore it's or penimi. But here we have a situation where we're talking about the Nukva Zer Anpin. The Nukva Zer Anpin is now going to be receiving the Sheva instead of going that route where it receives just from Ima in her normal position, where Ima and the whole, on Yom Kippur, everything goes up 5 levels. So the Ve'edach and Nizonis Ata should only goes 5, but that was my word, 5 levels, I'm not sure it's 5. So he's rak, so now she's only being able to receive the shefa that comes from the inside of the penimius of Ima. Where is the penimius of Ima? The Benimius of Ima should be on the Chitzonius of Erich. That's where it should be. Hanimshach of the Yotzim El Elyon, which comes out of the upper mouth. Shehem Peh, the Erik Anpen, which is the mouth of Erik Anpen. So imagine this, that out of the mouth of Erik Anpen is a flow of energy from the head of Erik Anpen in the form of a vapor, which is a breath. And that breath is a great word because it has almost no substance to it, which is also the nature of the light of the Ein Sof, which has no substance at all. And Erik Anpen is a very minimal substance, but the substance itself is a light of pure kindness. So he said, corresponding to those 5 different inuyim, which is now considered to be, in this case, like the breath that comes from the mouth of Erik Anpen. So corresponding to each one of those, now how they correspond, I don't know yet. He says that they refer to the 5 different tefillos. Yom Kippur, Kigama tefillah near Malzim, so the hevel the yotzim in the bed, because also the tefillos correspond to this hevel, which comes out. In other words, hevel is word breath that's coming out of the mouth. Now let me see where I'm at now. I'm on number Tes Zayin. So number Tes Zayin says this. It says V'gam Latam Zu. So now that you understand this, Omrim Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus L'Olam V'Red V'Yom Kippur B'Kol Ram. Now, also offhand, I don't see how these 2 ideas go together, but it's what he says. Because of the 5 inuyim, because of the aliyah of Malchus, to the level in which she is able to receive the breath, so to speak, of Erik Anpen, he said this is the reason why we also say Baruch Shem Kavod out loud on Yom Kippur. Ki Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus L'Olam V'Ed. He tikkun the Malchus. This is a tikkun for Malchus. So what is it? When we say the Shema Yisrael, there is actually 7 words there. Let me say Shema Yisrael, Hashem, Elokeinu, Hashem, Echad. There's 6 words. Those are 6 levels that the nukva of Zer Anpen, that enter into Zer Anpen when you say the word Shema. So he said, "V'gam the time." So let me see. Well, I got a little bit lost. Keep Baruch, and then we say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa. So that's when they're going up. The whole concept there is it going up. The bringing down is the concept of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa. Another 6 words. So go up 6, go down 6. That idea. Let's see. That's what I know about it. Of course, there's a lot more to be said by the Tiv, and we'll find out. He tikkun a Malchus. This is the tikkun for Malchus. But now on Yom Kippur, when she's being fed by, he said, by what? Voices from the inside. So therefore we say it with a loud voice. Now this, to me, makes a lot of explanation. And let's look over here on number Tes Zayin in the typical Vonos. He said, that's what the Rab said. Because in these words, Nirmaz Tikkun B'yichud Amalchus Shehir Hanukva Anikvas Rachel. So this is what? The Tikkun. That is putting her in her proper place with the proper flow of her 10 spheros flowing down the 3 lines into Malchus. So that is in her Malchus. Tevos Nirmaz Tikkun B'yichud Amalchus. So now she's in position Shehir Hanukva Anikvas Rachel. Kamabura B'Gavanas Kriya Shema. But the kach, for this reason, because so since we're saying that, but that she's still not in Atzilus, because when we start this out, Yotzer, the what we call in the Shema, the section called Yotzer, that section refers to Olam Abriya. So she's still not in Atzilus. So therefore, we don't say the word he says he's going to say, and she's not completely and totally fixed. So therefore there's a problem here. The problem is that she's going to be attacked by the Chitzonius, and they'll grab a hold of her. So therefore we whisper the word Baruch Shem Kavod. Is alleged that in a quiet way she's receiving her her oros from Zer Anpin, and we're not saying that we're not broadcasting it, we're not letting it out so that it doesn't attract the Chitzonis. Because they should know young so the Chitzonim should not be able to suck off of them or feed off of them. But now Yom Kippur is different. So she's now moved to the position of Ima, and now she's able to get the Sheva from the path of Eric Anpin. This tremendously high Sheva, Shehem Chamesh Kolos Hapanimion Shalah. Now he brings this idea of voices. He says these are the 5 voices that are in her inside. And the Ramazeh B'Chamesh Tefilos, which is also mentioned in the 5 Tefilos. The Chitzonim had no power in Olam Habriya, in the Olam of Betzilus, in the place of Ima. They have no power there. They're not able to attack that area. It's too high for them. Lomer, I guess the truth is too blatantly obvious. So therefore, in Yom Kippur, B'Kol Ram. So he's really, you could say it with B'Kol Ram, because he's really telling you that, it would be nice to be able to say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuso with a loud voice, just like we do on Yom Kippur every day. But the problem is that during the weekday, we're dealing in the lowest levels, and as a result of that, the Chitzonim have power. Gam yesh tam acher v'hu. Now there's another reason. Ki defisha Rachel lokechas ate b'Yom Kippur mechamesh gevura shalom mutakos. So this is now on Yom Kippur. She's independent and free. She's receiving directly from Zer Anpin 5 gevuros, but these 5 gevuros are all sweetened up. L'tzorach tikun partzufa, that they came to her in order to build her partzuf. Miyad ima through law atzma shelo ayedei. So she was receiving them, or she did receive them. I got to read this again because I'm a little off track. He says ayedei Zer Anpin. Let's read it again. Gam yesh tam acher. There's another reason. V'hu ki lefisha Rachel lokechas ate v'Yom Kippurim hachamesh gevur shalom memutakos. So now she's getting sweetened in it. The tzorach tikun partzufa, for the purpose of being masakin her partzuf. Miyad ima, from ima, ilo atzma shalo ayedei Zer Anpin, and she's getting it directly from ima ilo, not through Zer Anpin. Kamoshi is bar the command baruch bez Hashem. V'lechen kenegdam tikun hey inuyim. So therefore, corresponding to this, you had the 5 inuyim, elu shem achida b'shli etc. But now v'zera v'nira v'sei v'chazoyer v'parshas Pinchas, go over there with Daf Reish Lamed Aleph on the base. You'll see this. Now he mentioned the five voices, but he hasn't developed it, and I'm not sure if he means that we have the sounds that are produced. He used the word voices. Maybe the word voices also means sounds. So the sounds would be, the first sound is the chaw, and then the next one is called baga. No, let me see if I got that wrong. So I'll have to come back to it. So these are the 5 utterances of the peh. So I will get to it, and I'll try to dredge it up. Od yesh tam noisef lama nitzdavinda v'chesh mini idoye b'Yom Kippurim. L'Ramosha ata lokechas Rachel hamesh gevuras b'mutakos l'tzorach binyan partzufa me'ima shalocha yedei. So now she's receiving this not through Zer Anpin. Ki zeh yadua shebekol l'shana. Now we know this fact. Every year, Iker binyan partzuf anukva hu al yedei gevur shel Zer Anpin. She's always built, and in the davening every morning we go through an asira. This is brought in the Rishash Siddur. He said, "B'binyan partzuf anukva he al yedei gevur shel Zer Anpin." It's through the gevuros of Zer Anpin. Because in the first thing they're given to her. That's so she gives them right away, directly. And then after that they come sweetened. What's happening here on Yom Kippur, now she moved up to the position of Ima Olam. So she's getting them directly. This is like saying that she's getting them, this is my thinking. As if she is saying that she's getting him directly from Ima Elor without Zer Anpin. Tiknu Kenegnu Chamesh meaning Inuyim, so therefore corresponding to that, there are 5 different kinds of Inuyim. Now let me give 1 second. I'm going to pause here and try to collect my mind so that I can say the 5 voices of the Okay, so my memory is not all that great. It should be, these things were memorized and forgotten by me. But here's the 5 utterances of the mouth. And they really correspond to the 22 letters and the places in the mouth from which they come. And there's a whole Torah on this. One is called the cho, that's in the throat. The chech, which is the palate, produces the sound gichak. Then the tongue is called datlenet. All of those sounds are made by the tongue, or the sounds made by the chech, or the sounds that come from the deep depth of the goren. Then you have the next one is the shinayim, which we call zishrash, zas shratz. All of those letters come, he says, from the teeth. And then the last one, the bumuf, which comes from the lips. If you count them up, there's 22 letters here, and they all cover different places with the mouth. And these are the 5 sounds of the mouth. I just had to go through that because that's where I was. Anyway, so he said, let's look at number lamed ches over here. Excuse me, number yud ches. So therefore, corresponding to the 5 gevuras which are sweet in the able, let's say it again. Is the 5 gevuras which are now sweetened, we correspond to those, the 5 different inuyim that we were talking about. And these are the words that it says over there. This is of Eser l'chodesh hashavi hazeh ta'anu es nafsho seichem. That's the quote from the Torah. From the 5 books of Moses, and then it says that you have 5 inuyim that correspond to that. So he says that what? He says kagon detislaven hezeira beheiloa. Begin in order to nislaven, to whiten, which means sweeten, the hezeira, which is malchus, beheiloa, which refers to ima. So let's say, so he explains like this. The explanation of the reason, why there are 5 different inuyim, is so that the hey, the zira, shehi, rumezes the malchus, the nukva, which refers to the malchus, which is nukva, which is rachel. Tismatek v'tislaven ayedecha b'hei, so that should become, he says the word sweeten, whitened, because the concept of white here in Torah refers to an area there is no blemish, in other words, pure kindness. And how does this happen? By moving to the position of the upper hey, ima, which is ima. And this all comes as a result of the fact that she is now receiving 5 sweetened gevuros shemekabelas b'menu. So now these 5 inuyim, the 5 tefilos, correspond to the 5 gevuros and the ima, which ima receives, that now she is now receiving from ima. And again, I'm adding the word. He just says the words are just she receiving it from ima, as if that now. As if the nukva has jumped over there on pen, and now she's in the place of ima, as if all this is static, but it's not. It's all moving, but it's the panemius that's moving. Trying to understand that. And the panemius moves to the kitzonius, to the upper then has a new panemius because it has a kitzonius now. That moves up and becomes the kitzonius of what's up above it. And this is how the pattern works. Right now, the nukva has moved herself up to the panemius, the cover over the kitzonius of ima, and as a result of that, she has now made the kitzonius of ima into a panemius. Think about that. That's what he's really talking about on a deeper side. This is Baruch Fleischman. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kohler.